the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, everybody for displaying. You want to go?
Yeah.
Let's see. We are on item C, so celebrations, which we have first up is the science fair.
And I think this morning we're gonna get Linda Fife and Diana Remick to come up and tell us about how well we did at the science fair. And anybody else that wants to come up and talk to us about how well we did at the science fair. Come on up.
I'd like to call up my students, so if they're here, will they come on up? Tamsin, Jason, sorry, Mary. No. So this year, we entered 8 second grade students in the science fair and did really, really well. This is parent driven. Some of these kids you'll recognize from last month when they came to do the math presentation. We were the youngest group there, so in the K2 area, we took first place, second place, third place, and we also got 2 special awards. And the coolest thing is being the youngest group, we also got the highest honor, which is the Dr. Jill Gray Regional Science Fair Champion Award. So we get to hang that in our school. And so 8 years of doing science fair and I've never won this, and it's super cool because these kids did such a great job. A lot of time with their families, working on projects, and kudos to the parents that did that. And everybody who came and practice judged with us. Mr. Wilson was one of those that did that as well. So anything you all want to share? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's your medal?
My medal was for first place because I had the best experiment.
So. School, it's a lot of kids that started at the primary school that they continue with that. So very proud of all of them. If you want to grab your boys and take them, you can. If not, I will take them to the primary school.
You said the board took care.
Yes, so mine are along that wall over there. There's 8 of them. So, all right, good job, everybody.
No shy.
So the intermediates.
It's the intermediate.
A few
So
of them.
a few of them, because you know.
A lot of them have
Basketball. So, we were allowed 15 to sign up and we had 15 sign up.
Oh, gee.
So we had Natasha and Zoe, they did penny erosion. And Chris Durga, she did rocket, how I made rock candy, and she came back with the Otero Chemistry Department Outstanding Project. Taylor Fisher, he did check that pressure and he won the Otero Biology Department Outstanding Project. Nolan Cisneros, which ball goes higher for the 3rd graders. 4th graders, we had Ryder Darnell, Lego Zipline, and he won the Otero Engineering Department Outstanding Project. Connor Voigt, he did water filtration, the importance of natural resources in the process. We had Adam Watera, the Dirty Project, and he won 3rd place in the 3rd through 5th grade division. For our 5th graders, we had Christine Lee, she did Ace Ace Baby. We had Ginny Lynn Zamora, she did color exploration and she won 2nd place in the 3rd through 5th grade division. We had Mila Roller, she did You Scream Ice Cream. We all scream for melted ice cream. We had Aralia Owen did Long Live Slime. Melanie Guzman did the Void Plant. Aaron Ortega did Where Does the Water Come From, Coloradoans. And he won the Take the Pulse of the Plant Award. And then for 6th grade, we had Lainey Glee and she did Drip Goes the Rain. And all of our science fair boards are on the back wall.
All right. Awesome. Thank you all so much.
What made you decide to do the ice cream?
Made you like that?
Oh, you like some sort of reason. That's fine. Didn't put you on the like ice cream.
Because she likes ice cream. Oh, what ice cream was it that took the longest to melt? But what, was it the low fat? What was it? You don't remember? Strawberry took the longest and she said she had to watch it melt. And it took forever.
So that must be as fun as watching pink.
That's-
I'm gonna say it is.
Good job, everyone.
Hour and 40 minutes?
Thank you.
An hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, my.
And how much ice cream was it? How many scoops?
2 ounces of ice cream.
2 ounces of ice cream, 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Jeez.
Sounds good.
Long time.
Is this just our schools or is it surrounding schools and districts?
There was Levita, there was Rocky Ford, Manzanola, Crowley County. Trinidad, a couple other schools that were there.
Wow, that's.
They did very, very well.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank y'all again.
Thank you.
All right, ready for the next one?
Yep.
All right. We're here to also celebrate the wrestling teams. And so Joe, where's Joe? Come on up. And all the wrestling coaches, I'd say bring them all. There's a couple of shows. There are a couple of tracks. Yeah, I didn't know. Nice to meet you. You're the right one. We do.
Reach the other way.
All yours.
I'm the head coach of the Lahana Women's Wrestling Team. This year we had 22 girls come out. And,
Wow.
we had a very successful season. The season before, we didn't have any girls qualify for state, which was our first year. This year we had 4 girls qualify for state. And then we had 2 girls place at state. 1 girl was a finalist, which was the first in Lahana school history. At regionals, we had a girl win the regional, so she was the regional champ. And that was, first time for Lahana High School as well. Jake here's been a big part of our strength and conditioning. Even before he got hired as one of our assistant coaches, he was there 5:30 in the morning with not only the girls, but with the boys too. And then Joel Ortiz, he's my assistant coach and he's been the brains behind it. So he's kind of the guy where if we want to know who we're facing, when we're facing. So he's been a big help. I can't speak any more proudly about these young women. They've all done very good. We have a high number of girls coming in next year as well. And I
Will the
think
team be this big next year?
yep, we're bringing every girl back.
Oh,
So,
my.
yep, we're not graduating any seniors.
Wow.
So
Wow.
next year, they're gonna be in contention, I believe, for a state championship in the team. So they work hard, they show up every day, they have a great attitude, and they're more of a family than anything, I would say.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Not graduating any seniors, I mean, you don't have any seniors.
Yep, there's no girls leaving.
Nobody's holding back for a fifth year.
Unless we can, or you have to follow me.
Yeah, I'm just a huge supporter of this program, but I gotta tell you, Coach, I'm a little disappointed. Where's the coat? Where's the-
I didn't wear the jacket, I know I
I
should
mean,
have,
Come on,
I
dude.
should have, so that's when it's our time to shine. So that's
Will
why I
that-
wear that
will that-
jacket, so,
Make an appearance next year?
yes, definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
Well, I came to regionals and watched everybody wrestle, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And we just, makes me very proud of all y'all's accomplishments, and just keep it up. I mean, this is something that we can grow and we can be proud of in La Junta. You know, let's go to state next year and win state. Think we can do it?
Let's go up.
believe so.
All right. Thank y'all so much. Thank you. All right, guys, turn.
So my name is Michael Andrews. I'm the assistant coach for the La Junta Boys Wrestling team. Greg Magana, this is the head coach. We started out with 25 boys on the team after injuries and just the weeding out process. Some of them decided that wrestling wasn't for them. We ended up with 18. Of the 18 boys, of course, there's 14 varsity spots. We filled 13 of those varsity spots. We had 5 on our JV team. Of those 13 varsity wrestlers, we qualified 8 of them for state. That's the most La Junta boys wrestling or La Junta wrestling has qualified for state since 1996, which was the year that La Junta had last won state for wrestling.
Wow.
Of the 8 boys that we qualified for state, they all went out and wrestled and they wrestled multiple matches at state and they all won a match at state, which is qualifying for state is a huge accomplishment. Winning a match at state is an even greater accomplishment. We had 2 placers, the 2 brothers. We'll start with Joe Gamez. He's a junior. He's a 2-time state placer, both times placed 4th at state. Suffered an injury at state. It wasn't a debilitating injury. He was able to come back and finish wrestling, but it did hinder him a little bit in his wrestling, which I think next year he's got a lot more to prove. He's going to make a lot more noise at state. Younger brother, but bigger brother, Jordan Gamez. He's a sophomore. Again, another 2-time state placer, but this time go ahead and say it, Jordan. What are you?
Colorado 3A state champion.
Colorado. So not only did Jordan win state, the previous week he had won regionals as well. Won his regionals match by pin, or his regional championship match by pin. And what was it? 26 seconds. 26-second pin in the regional. Of the what is 18 boys that we have, we have 3 of them graduating. 3 boys graduating, so we're gonna be bringing back 15 boys plus the upcoming junior high class, which we should probably bring in another, I'd say maybe 8 more wrestlers. We're looking at close to around about 25 wrestlers next year.
Great.
As a team at regionals, we had placed 3rd. At regionals, we were a handful of points behind second place and about another 30 or so points behind first place. At state, we had placed 13th as a team. We scored 68 points, I believe it was. 68 points, more than La Junta scored at state in a long time. I believe the winning team, the team that won, that took first place at state, they scored about 120 points, 130 points. So we were right behind them. We still had a ways to go, but we're just right around the cusp of making our being known at the state tournament.
Love it. All right. Well, thank y'all so much. Yeah, one of my, that's pretty cool. Yes. See you guys. Thank you all so much. Yeah. We could send.
That we can hear.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Audience portrait.
Sorry about that.
So we're gonna move on with the audience portion. I just want to remind folks that the guidelines to follow for public input at board meetings, the chair will call speakers in order in which they signed up. The speakers will adhere to the time limits, which is 5 minutes, and stop when directed by the chair. We don't usually make people do that, but no speaker will speak in a disrespectful or inappropriate manner as determined by the chair. Speakers may offer such and programs as concern them, but in public session, the board will not hear personal complaints against any person connected with the school system. If a speaker fails to adhere to the rule and direction of the chair, he or she will not be allowed to continue speaking. And if he or she does not stand down, he or she will be asked to leave the premises. No one will be allowed to defer speaking time to someone else. If you don't come up when your name is called, you will forfeit your time. Speakers only get one opportunity to address the board on an issue. And we don't have a microphone that is working, so if you are up to speak, please project. I do have one sign up. Ms. Christine Phillips to address concerns regarding school closures and delays.
Honored board members, respected faculty and fellow citizens, thank you for allowing me a moment of your time to address with you what I believe to be a matter of extreme importance. My youngest son is currently a student at the La Junta Junior Senior High School. He walks 7 blocks, not that big of a deal. Unless the weather is below 0 with active snow and several days of frozen ice pack on key intersections, sidewalks, and major thoroughfares of the city. One of these days was February 12th, 2025. At 6 a.m., it was 5 below with a wind chill of -11. By that 6 a.m. deadline, the following schools' communities were on a 2-hour time delay. Everyone except East Otero School District. I have to wonder how many students in the school district actually attended school on that day. How much effective learning was accomplished? What was the payoff for the East Otero School District to remain open while every other school, the Otero County office is the area's largest employer. And all other municipalities were on the delay or cancellation. What did we gain? February the 12th was not the first day I truly believed cancellation or delay should have been issued. It was the third, but this is the first one I called my son off, kept him home. My original complaint that I was going to bring was going to center around just this. I know we have a new superintendent, and I was hoping that the board would be able to maybe express a parent's perspective on why it is so imperative to consider the unique health and safety concerns of our community, as opposed to a more mountainous region of Dolores, where he came from. I wanted to understand, though, before I brought this up to you, it's a pet peeve of mine when somebody comes with a full complaint and none of the pertinent information. So I started looking around, and I began with watching the board meetings from here, the previous board meetings. I found that this issue has already been addressed with the superintendent by the board. The same reasons I wanted to explain the cumulative impact of the weather, not just the snow and not just the temperature, but the vehicle's readiness, the children's awareness, or youth drivers in the area. All of this has already been addressed by the board once, and it was addressed in detail. At the time, it was stated that decisions would be made better, but that didn't happen by the 12th. And in an effort and fairness to the superintendent, I thought maybe I'd look in on Dolores. Maybe they did things differently there. I myself lived in the Nucla Natarita area. It's a different beast altogether. So because it was a mountain town, they had perhaps different standards, or I don't know what I was looking for, enlightenment, understanding, Shangri-La, all of the above. What I ended up finding was the notes for a regular board meeting from Dolores School District dated on December 8th, 2018. During the citizen comments, a teacher by the name of Michaela Johnson presented a letter to the superintendent, Dr. Blinko, and the board regarding a decision-making for delayed start and cancellation for snow days. She shared a personal account of the most recent snowstorm in which she slid off the road and totaled her car. After this, you can see, I think, why I'd be here today to speak with you about my concerns. Speaking of those concerns, on the day of February 12th, when I called the district offices, I didn't know who was responsible for calling the delays or cancellations, so I just pressed 1 at the voice prompts. The woman that answers was very kind and offered to put me through to the superintendent's voicemail. It never picked up. It just rang and rang and rang. It never kicked over to a voicemail, never said that it was full or anything. So I didn't know what else to do other than to come here. I'm not wanting to send emails with no intonation behind them because I don't want to come across as accusatory when I'm intending to be inquisitive. And that's an easy fallacy to make without being in person. I wanted a conversation as a person with people, which brought me here. I'm super glad that I did, though, because when I came in and I saw that the agenda was up here, I see that under 6 discussion, there's staff retention bonuses. I'm surprised that this is an option in today's uncertain funding times, what with all the government upheaval. But more than that, as I told you, my son attends the high school. I don't know how many of you have been up there recently, but the high school is in desperate need of a new roof. The roof leaks so bad that students are set out with buckets to find regular leaks and new ones that keep cropping up. There's several missing tiles in the ceiling. One of the tiles outside Mr. Werner's class is stained dark brown with watermarks and hanging like a teardrop. Not to mention, one of my son's classes consists of him showing up, being handed a printout for today's lesson, and being told to sign into Edgenuity for his daily module. There is no in-class instruction. Just an adult that sits at a desk and surfs the internet while the kids work. I seriously really hope that a half-second impulse for bonuses might perhaps evolve into a more long-term option for better pay, benefits, and recruitment efforts for the awesome teachers and to keep the amazing ones that we already have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. Item F, approval of the agenda. Are you going to run through the agenda first, or do you?
I recommend that we approve the agenda with the changes that have been listed. Which is number 7, we changed first reading, second and final.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, as published. Yes, right? Published. The word, thank you. Make a motion to approve the agenda as published and as stated.
I have a motion and a second. We can do a second comment. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as published with the change of changing number item 7A. Unfinished business is second final.
With discussion, can we table the CBA, CBC for CASB to consult us for services? Since it's in the middle of the year or would we do that when we get to that item?
We can do that when we get to that item.
Okay.
And then item D, I know we had discussed the superintendent evaluation results.
Yeah, we can postpone that, you and I have discussed in the board, discussed postponing that to March. So I think that would probably be best where we can all have time to have input on that particular.
Yeah, because we have one person who is not here today in person, and we feel like with it being new board members and new evaluation tool, a new evaluation or a new superintendent, we want to make sure that everybody gets to be in person. So that's why we said it was okay.
I think that.
I just would like to acknowledge and appreciate the superintendent's willingness to accommodate the change. And first contract, the evaluation is due March 1. I appreciate the superintendent's willingness to help us out so we can get all of us together. So I want to acknowledge that. Thank you.
And when we get to that agenda item, we'll just table it as well until a special meeting.
Well, not really table it for a special meeting, just hold on.
That's
Well, right?
because it'll have to be at a different time, otherwise it'll be later. So no, that'll.
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't need to remove. Hold on. Lost my place. So we don't have to remove, the policy. And we don't have to remove the superintendent evaluation. We can get to that item with those motions.
Yeah, we'll make those motions.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Mrs. Ayala.
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
Aye.
Mrs. Leba.
Aye. Item 2, consent agenda.
Madam President, I'm going to recommend, if we want to do it in one fell swoop, that we approve the consent agenda, which includes personnel approvals. There's a number of personnel approvals listed. It'll also include approving the spring sports extra duty assignments for 24-25 season. And the third thing it would include would be the approval of an additional 2 substitute teachers for 24-25. So my recommendation again is to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
So a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items as presented. Questions, comments? Roll call.
Mrs. Ayala.
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
Aye.
Mrs. Leba.
Aye. Item 3.
The minutes of the previous meeting are item number 3, and Madam President, I recommend that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting on January 27th, 2025.
Motion to approve minutes. 2025. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from January 27, 2025. Questions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Ayala.
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
I,
Mrs. Leba.
Aye. Presentations.
Madam President, we're gonna have Richie Romero come up and talk about school safety. Y'all be kind to him, he's a little shy.
that's funny.
I did tell Dr. Blinko that my speech would be 45 minutes, but I got it down to 40.
All right. Usually, I think you're familiar with me, but usually I start asking the same questions with ICS, lockdown drills, grants. So I'm just gonna let you roll with it.
Stay
And then we'll
tuned.
see. All right, then.
I appreciate it. Can we let him talk?
The first item I have for you guys, I came last year in June talking about the school security disbursement grant. We weren't awarded anything at that time, and then about a month later, we got notification that we were awarded $303,000. So we utilized that to upgrade our exterior access control, which I'm happy to announce that we finished that project about 2 weeks ago. Heather and I will visit with the grant committee probably the end of this week to finalize that project out. And then we're gonna start looking for that grant again coming up here in the coming months. And apply for it again to see what we can get on that, so. That's been a big bonus. As far as I'm concerned, on my end, I do not have a budget per se for me myself, so I was gonna talk to Dr. Blinko and Heather about maybe getting a budget for me. More specifically, so that I can kind of fine tune, cameras, access control will be good right now since that's new. Currently, we have 189 cameras in service in the district. Of those 189, 28 of them have warranty left on them. So we're kind of in a position right now, although the cameras are working fine, I want to get to the point where it's probably we should replace them, not we need to replace them. The cameras I have throughout the district are somewhat strategically placed so that we don't have any bare areas throughout the district. And so oftentimes if I do have a camera go down, it's usually on the shop that I need to have. So I'm being a little more proactive than reactive with that, so that's what I would use some of that budget for, should that come into play. Sometime next month, Dr. Blinko, Jared, Crispin, and I will be walking each building looking for just various safety concerns. Maybe maintenance concerns for Crispin's part. We did identify one issue at the high school right now that I think we're gonna have that remedied maybe this week. But we're gonna fine tune all of the campuses here coming up in March. I'm also gonna reach out to Brad Stiles from the Colorado Department of Public Safety to see if he will actually come down and do a physical threat assessment on our campuses. That could be anywhere from, hey, you probably want to remove some of these bushes in front of the building to, we change out our egress routes or whatever it may be. So it'll give us a good idea on what we need to brush up on as far as safety and whatnot. We do continue to do our drills monthly and quarterly, so that's keep doing those. I know you guys are all big on safe to tell, so thus far this year, we've only had 2 safe to tell reports. One was back in September that was unfounded, and then one was actually last night that had nothing to do with it. So we referred that off to law enforcement. We continue our mandatory training for staff members that come about. We did have the big reunification training back in July, which unfortunately I wasn't able to attend, even though I fought for years to get that, but I had a small hiccup in my health and didn't get to go with that, but it was well attended. And we got it's pretty good attendance from surrounding districts on that as well. So, and then lastly, I have been talking with the local police department about getting another exercise going at some point. That way we can get all of our local agencies involved to kind of give us some practice on some mass incidents. Like, with that, not only we practice that, but our surrounding government agencies, police, fire, EMS, streets, state patrol, everybody do that. It does take some time to put that together, but I think it is a necessary thing that we need to do. So, awesome. That's what I have for you. I think I have about 42 minutes left.
Question on the reunification training, is there something in place to where new hires will get some sort of training on that?
Yes.
'Cause I remember last issue that came up, that was a huge thing, was that we had so much turnover that all the staff that attended the training wasn't actually working anymore. And so there was hiccups, and so I I just wanna know what we're doing for new hires. Cause obviously we can't have this training every.
So annually, whether it's at the beginning of the year, mid-year, throughout the year, everybody has to do our mandatory training on that, what we're mandated to do. At the beginning of the school years, I will go to each campus if they request, and I will go and actually do the SRP presentation to them to include reunification. Mid-year, if we hired somebody new today, we are still requiring them to do the mandatory training. But I also include in their videos and such on our SRP so that they are familiar with that. And so, yes, in a roundabout way, they do get it, whether they're here at the front of the year, mid-year or somewhere, so they do get familiarized with that.
My question was, we were talking about this at one of the deputies. Were we still wanting to look into maybe, community members that like are lifers here? That we would be willing to like collaborate with building like a community, like, yeah, well, yeah, like a response, but like I don't know, like a collaboration that we would all come together and we could have it where we all did it. So with that turnover, it wouldn't be a big issue anymore.
Yeah, the huge piece with that reunification training is we paid, I think, 17,000 to get that here. And I'm hoping, because literally 2 weeks after we paid for that and posted it here, Colorado Department of Public Safety teamed up with the I Love You Guys Foundation and started offering that free throughout the state. And so I'm hoping that at some point they will maybe bring it back to Wanda.
Mhm.
And then we can do that again and maybe open it up to more parents or community members
Mhm.
and staff. But yes, I would love to do that. When we did our exercise a few years back, I had about a dozen or two parent volunteers involved in it. And I think I had 6 show up, and then before we even started, 3 of them left, and so I kind of was just stuck in a pickle at that time, but I need to dig more just to say, hey, if you're gonna sign up for this, it's for the full blown thing,
Yeah.
whether it takes 4 hours or 8 hours. But it's good practice. So yes, that is something that I would like to do.
That's a great foundation to have, like, against
Yeah.
foundation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be a good help.
And I'm seeing a lot of partnership with the Colorado Department of Public Safety. They have thrown a lot of resources our way. And in terms, some of it doesn't cost us anything. And so I got a great resource in Kelly Eddington, who used to work for the district. She actually works for them now. And so anytime something comes up, she's shooting it my way and I'm like, hey, thanks for that information. So.
Yeah.
So what probably everything keeps you in there, where are we most vulnerable and what are you worried about? And what can we do to stop your one?
Well, I think the worry is always gonna be there, whether it's in La Junta, Colorado or Washington, DC. It's just a matter of everybody staying vigilant and you see something, say something type of thing. And I don't want it to where our staff and students are living on the edge and, you know, freaking out every day, but just understand that we do practice the things and our staff do take it seriously. And I'm fairly confident in the administration and all the buildings that they really know what to do with it when something happens.
So,
But as far as what worries me at night,
yeah,
I'm worried that one of these alarms in the building are gonna go off and wake me up. That's what I worry about. Because it happens.
that's fair. That's right.
You know,
I'm just,
I don't wanna say we're perfect by any means, but at the same
I'm
time,
just worried work and I mean, I don't have the responsibility and the burden that you have. But I'm just like, where are we vulnerable and what can we do?
and that's part of why when I wanna discover that in this physical threat assessment on campus to see if we're gonna see some things. It's all about education in the classroom and making sure our staff and students are up to speed on stuff. But again, I'm not saying we're taking it lightly, but at the same time, don't let it keep you up at night. As long as we know what we're doing. I can tell you when we adopted the SRP and the stuff that we were doing in this valley, a lot of area-wide schools were calling us saying, hey, can we steal your platform? Well, it's on our platform, but here's where you can go look at what you do. And so we collaborated with a lot of surrounding districts. And I pat ourselves on the back for taking the initiative to do this stuff because we were kind of one of the first pilot districts to pilot that program, and here we are. So the good thing is the surrounding districts follow the same suit, and so if we ever need help from them, it's kind of like calling in the doctor from the next state over. You kind of already know what to do. So
Rich, tell us about that night, the board about the night. I think it was a smoke or fire alarm went off, but actually Crispin came up here and it was, one of the boilers.
what was that the night I had to have somebody go knock on your door?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so one night, it was on a Sunday night about 12:30, I had a fire alarm go off here in this building and discovered it was a smoke detector down in the boiler room. Well, the smoke detector went off because it got steamy in there. Big 5 or 6 inch pipe bust. It started steaming everywhere in there, so it triggered the alarm. Well, we were at a point to where I didn't know how to isolate the deal. We couldn't get people to answer phones, and so Claudia and I actually at 12:30 at night in that parking lot over there, were making the decision to probably call a remote bay. And then luckily the water department showed up, but I shut it off at the street. That meant we had no water. I kind of had to send some of my former buddies over to certain people's house to wake them up and say, hey, what do we do? And so I woke Dr. Blinko up, I woke Crispin up, and then we were able to isolate it and save the day, and we were able to get school going for that next day, but there's things like that that keep me up at night.
Yeah, or wake you up in night.
Keep me up at night.
You know, in our safety walks that we're gonna be doing in March that Richie mentioned, those are kind of what keeps us up during the day, but we're trying to find the places, you know, the little hidden areas and spots that maybe we can shore up. We've got, I think our high school has the most areas where there's access where it doesn't need to be, have access. So we're just gonna do a slow, thorough walk and just try to pinpoint some of these areas. Like he mentioned, Crispin will be going with us to make a list of some things we want to fix and repair. But we actually look forward to that. We're gonna start at the high school and we're gonna do TTA after that. We think those are our top 2 priority schools that need it the most. And then we'll eventually come back to this school, intermediate and primary as well, just to make sure. But these buildings are a little bit more logical and laid out well. Those other 2 buildings there's some issues, you know, so we're just gonna see if we can shore them up a little bit and just make a more safe environment during the day.
I think it was our first SCAP review, that when we all came back to debrief, that was like the most common feedback was that high school isn't up here. I don't even know how you guys control that. So it is good to have a third party come in and then just assess it because we think it's safe, but someone else is like, hey, this is.
And when you have to search the buildings for real life, that's the barrier.
And after that report's done, will you come back and give us that?
Yeah, once, I think he'll give me a summary of some sort, or if not, it may just be my notes saying, here's what we identified at each campus. So, yeah.
And I can get that out to all of you. And it may be something as we start budgeting together next year, there may be something on there we need to budget for, or just, you know, make a note that we'll fix it out of capital if we need to do that.
So I had my list of questions and I crossed off most of them. So to piggyback off of what Director Hines said about like new hires and everything, do we also do an orientation for E3? Does everybody have that on
Yes.
their?
That's also included. So we have the vector training, which is the management reporting stuff, yada, yada, yada. We have the SRP, and then we have the E3. E3 is our emergency app that it's utilized just internally. Internally and externally, the first responders, that's it. So in the event of a lockdown, a secure, hold, evacuate, it goes out similar to an Amber Alert to our staff. And then from there, we go into a chat feature, and that's kind of where we communicate. This was one thing that we got that simply because we were able to put out information in real time to all the staff members at once, rather than relying on, hey, you know, Reese text us out to this building and so on. It's real time. And so each time we put out an alert, it's per building. And so if you work in that building, you'll get the alerts. If you don't, you won't. So it's a pretty nifty,
We the only school district that you know of that use it right now?
in our area, I believe so.
We were modeling again. You mentioned the lockdown drill regularly. What is that? So for like people at home or the board members, how often does that happen?
So we generally do those quarterly, do those fair weather drills. Yeah, last year it's fair weathers, we do those quarterly fire drills, we do monthly. Try to do those monthly, now we do them semi-monthly, that's at the blessing of the fire chief. But we typically do those quarterly.
And then I didn't hear the word specifically, you did say training, but I ask every year. Are we compliant with ICS and or NIMS? I don't know what you call it, but either way, are we?
We are,
Okay,
the last
yeah.
report we are, but I have to get Dr. Blinko and Jared up on it. At the same time, I just assume get like Dakota, Crispin, Naomi, all of our directors to get on that. Simply just so they understand the ICS and the NIM structure. And that'll just help everybody really identify, like when we have a big incident, we're working with other local agencies. They kind of understand that structure. Yeah.
And then could you please, because we have new board members and then the people listening at home, explain why I asked that, what Senate bill,
That's from Senate Bill 181,
which is
the Colorado State School Act.
Safe School Act. So we're just being compliant. So that's why I always ask you the same questions every time you give a report, and I appreciate
And
it.
coincidentally, I was getting Jared signed up last week for it, and then I took the time to remind those that haven't completed to do it. So it's easy, but it's dry.
It is, but
Copy. You have to do it.
Yeah. So. Other than that, that's what I.
How much money are you gonna try to ask for? I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. Have that conversation.
when the budget comes around.
Oh, wait. I'm just-
Well, I
Oh, for
talked to
my
Heather.
budget?
Yeah, you said you wanted your own.
We're willing to give
Probably-
$500.
I can make it work. I don't know, I gotta look at what the camera replacement costs are going to be, and the ultimate goal for the cameras is, we got most of the cameras in service circa 2018. And so I want to get all of them down to where they are 5 years or younger. And so of the 28 that I mentioned, those are 5 years or younger. The rest are going on 8, 9 years. So I'd like to see
And we're still with, Austin,
WIOIT.
just curious. Any other questions?
Have more, follow what President said, in terms of just sparked my thought. Are we in coordination or in contact with other area districts? Like, if something went down,
I got this.
are we like talking to Swing, Shara, Rocky Ford, these other districts? In terms of like, if something went down,
So we,
what's our coordination plan, I guess?
so I do. So we have a group meeting, is that the right one? I think it is. And so we have a group chat, constantly with the superintendents and BOCES and
Right.
with Otero. So at any given time, I can get on this group chat and it's on all the superintendent's phones for in the region and send out alerts. It's typically used, what was spoke about tonight for weather, you know,
Yeah.
we,
Right,
the night before and in the morning of, we have a big group chat when weather's an issue. So, but it can be used for anything, obviously.
And oftentimes that goes the other way as well. If we start hearing something's going down in Rocky Ford, then usually we check out what's going down there. Is it gonna impact us or is it just localized up there? So
I just think that like regional communication and thankfully, nothing's happened like that, but planning is better than not planning.
Yeah. And our partnership with law enforcement and fire EMS and, if they're dealing with us, they're gonna put the word out to the surrounding
It's,
agents.
want to make sure.
Yep.
And
Thank
you have
Yes, sir.
a police scanner on you pretty much at all times, or.
Yeah.
So you know what's going on with law enforcement. most of the
Yeah.
time as well.
Local P authorizes me to listen to their top groups. So typically, if I hear something going on out, then that's usually when you'll see me throw us into a secure or something like that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Richie.
Yep. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
I have a question real quick for you, Rich. Is there your walkthroughs, are they gonna be open to the public or just you guys?
Probably tag along a few others, the ones that we're gonna do in March. Yeah. We hadn't officially opened up to the public.
Thank you. So moving on to superintendent's report. And recommendations.
On top of the written report that I've given y'all, I have a few other things to share with you. As y'all know, I was at the winter superintendent conference last week and learned lots of good things. But I was able to visit with our new legal counsel for a few hours and just talk to them about, I gave them some history of our school district and what our school district's like, and we've been through, where we're going and things like that. In our conversations, they recommended a couple things to me. First of all, they said that they would love to come visit with y'all and get to know y'all. And also maybe do a small training of board training and superintendent training. So I think that would be a good idea, even though we've got some other trainings coming with CDE that we got through the Easy Grant. So I may, Madam President, I'll work with you and see if we can come up with a time where we can get Kristen and maybe Coulter down here as well. The other thing that they, just as we were just chatting and talking about, you know, one of them asked, how do I communicate with the board? And I told them about Friday mailings and I told them about my superintendent report. And one of the things they recommended, what I thought was a good idea that I'd like to implement, was having set aside the Friday before the school board meeting, where I give each of y'all an hour, and I prefer face-to-face, or I can come to you, or we can do a Zoom or just like call on the phone. But she said, try to make it a point just to talk to each board member the Friday before the board meeting and answer any questions that they might have seen in the agendas. So I think that's a really good idea as well. So I'd like to visit with y'all about possibly setting aside some Fridays before the school board meetings to go over the agendas or anything else you'd just like to talk about. So I thought that was an excellent recommendation by our council. In front of you, each of you received a copy tonight of The Anxious Generation, which is a book that I've also shared with our administrators that they're supposed to have already have read chapters 10 and 11. So I would recommend that was some blank stare or something. I'd like to ask y'all the same. It's a great book. I've listened and read the whole book, but I would recommend that if you want to cut to the chase, go to chapters 10 and 11, because chapter 10 is the recommendations that he makes on what schools could do as far as cell phone policies and some other activities. And then chapter 11 is recommendations that he makes to parents as to what he thinks is some good ideas as far as technology, screen time in your children. So have a read, and if y'all want to set aside some discussion time to talk about chapters 10 and 11, we can do that as well. Besides that, I think that's all. I will answer any questions that you might have, but that's all I was just going to bring up for tonight. Jared is at a SCAP in Burlington, so he obviously won't be giving a report tonight, but he'll be back next month to give y'all a report. Yeah.
On to discussion.
Yes, well, and this kind of goes, our discussion item A is the staff retention bonuses. As y'all know, we kicked this around in December. It was actually on the agenda in in December. And then we were uncertain at the time because we hadn't finished our January. Heather and I were just still working on the January balancing of the budget and the new budget. Did you bring those documents by chance?
I did. I gave everyone.
Everybody has one.
Including.
So there's a document on your desk that Heather put together for us. But as you're aware, again, we brought this up in December and then we didn't have enough information to move forward, so we stopped it at the time. You know, we knew at the time we were trying to finish in December, we were trying to finish our audit from 22-23, and we knew the county owed us some money. We did not know that the county was sitting on $2.4 million of our tax dollars that we were able to get in when we finished the 22-23 audit. Once we received these deposits and got these balances, it increased our fund balance from roughly 5 million to roughly 6.5 million, because a lot of that money that came in, first of all, we made our bond payment, which was $400,000 in December. And then, but the amount of money that we have, and this is showed at the very bottom in yellow, the funds available right now, I just put roughly 6.5. It's actually 6,577,556. You know, roughly what they'll teach in superintendent school is that you should try to keep at least 3 months of expenses on hand. Our monthly expenses are roughly 1.1 million. So
A month,
a month,
sorry, interrupt, but
a month.
That's our monthly. That's our monthly.
Yeah, full monthly expenses, including payroll, electric bill, water bill, everything else. So, you know, that's a rough rule of thumb that you should have 3.3. I think I feel a little bit better having 4 million in the bank, but to have 6.5 is in excess for sure. So also, in my superintendent report, it goes on to say last year, the state created a new funding formula that all districts benefited from. But as we go, as long as they fully fund the state education program, we will continue to benefit from this funding formula. Heather and I looked at this today. Next year, for instance, if they don't take out the 4-year average, I think Heather had said we would be up $250,000 of additional state funding for next year, which is good. That's nice. Last year, because of 5% inflation and the new funding formula, most districts received a substantial addition to their amount of money they received, and they were able to pass this along in nice raises. A lot of districts at the time, I was still on the other side of the state, a lot of the districts tried to match the 5% inflation just to let their employees keep up with the cost of inflation. We at East Otero gave the normal 2% step raise, which again, didn't keep up with inflation. And I would speculate that this was due to the fact that the county was sitting on the 2.4 million at the office. So with that said, you know, and as y'all heard me, as you heard us at the state board testify, you know, we're trying to do all we can to attract and retain our top quality people. And not only for our school district, retain the best in our school district, but recruit in this area and attract people to come to LaHunta. So that's the basis of why I would like to give this this bonus to our people. I'd love it if we could roll it out at spring break. I think that would be a good time. If not, I think any bonus would be appreciated at any time. I've been speaking to some of the board members. I think there's some legitimate issues with this plan. So for instance, and you'll see this in my board report, you know, everybody would get the same bonus, whether they're a really good employee or whether they're not a very good employee. And that is true. And that is a fallacy with, you know, a down point of just giving everybody the same $1,000. Everybody would get the same bonus, whether they worked here 1 year or 10 years. So some would say that's not fair. And then, there was one other, I think. Oh, the last one is people who make less in our district would get a higher percentage than the people who make more. And again, this is true, but honestly, done on purpose. You know, I enjoy, I think that we should always look out for some of the people in our district that make less money and this would be a substantial bonus to them. This is a discussion item. Obviously, we're in discussion. And as I think Greg called me today, he had a question about this particular item and I said, you know, Greg, I said, I know what my intentions are. I know where I want to go, but I'm fully open to what y'all would have to say and any ideas if y'all wanted to change this up in some form or fashion. I'd certainly be open to that, but I think it's good that we can at least discuss it and see where we may want to go with this. So I had to start somewhere, so we start here.
So my question, and you and I did have a conversation about this. And my understanding is it will be a bottom line deduction, withdrawal, whatever, from our bank accounts of $250,000.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Heather, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you agree with that, and we have the funds to substantiate that. To do that.
I don't know how, if that's even my place to say that, but I mean, I feel right now, and Dr. Blinko and I had this discussion this morning. I said I felt that I wasn't quite comfortable with it for the fact that as of February 28th, our audit will not be done. So in March, they will hold our property tax again. And so I feel at that point, I told Dr. Blinko I was nervous with it. Just for the fact that I don't know how long it will take Dimitri to do the audit. I'm hoping he'll have it done by the end of March. But as in the past, that wasn't always the case. We went a little longer, as we all know. So that was my opinion this morning when I had talked to Dr. Blinko.
I really. That was hard for you to say, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, in the audit, she's right. So we finished the 22-20.
I just want to, I don't want to over. That was trying to figure out a polite way to say it, but that was ballsy.
Yeah.
And so, thank you.
One way to say it.
It is, sorry.
That's quite right. And Heather's right. We finished our 22-23 audit in early December, as we mentioned, and we're trying to do 23-24 now. And we need to have that finished by the end of March. So the state doesn't tell the county to withhold funds again. Right now, we get about 1.1 million a month. I asked Heather this morning from the state. And what was our local money that we get?
Sorry. About 40, 45.
About 40 to 45,000 from the county. A month. So it's possible, I mean, we'll still get our state money, our 1.1, I believe, but we wouldn't get our county money.
Right, and the whole of that, we will get the state share every month, continuing. I just, with the audit not being done also, and I told Dr. Blinko this morning too, with the audit not being done, that makes me hesitant, but.
Really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll let everybody, I'll go last on my questions, because like with Richie, I have a list, so I'm just gonna. So I don't know, since we got it.
Thank you for that information. Yeah, the audit, that's a big one for me, but, with everything up in the air too, with everything. And then we're going to that legislative thing at the end of this week to find out more what's going on with our government. That's a lot of information. We have to absorb everything we possibly can. And I like this information here, but I need a lot more. see what's going on. It's very vague. To me, I like itemized stuff, and it is out, but itemized is what I go off of. I mean, I did do stuff with, D with, stuff with the city with that other thing, and I like itemized. So I mean, it's just vague and it's, you know what I mean, you know what I'm talking about, so it's like, when I see this, I'm like, so, yeah, I have to make that good choice. Just have full information, sorry.
I was just gonna say, to piggyback on you with this, this is good information to have. But when I look at this, I just see what our bank balances are. And so that doesn't tell me like of our bank balances, we have a bank balance of whatever, but we have 3 million in checks written as earmarked for budget items. And so this doesn't really tell me what excess we have, because it's just says what the bank balances are, which that doesn't mean anything. In my mind, you know, we have the budget put together based off of the expected income that we're gonna get, and we've allocated all those funds. And so in my mind, this money that we've gotten in isn't new money, it's money that we were expecting. And I know that you had mentioned that we were only expecting 400,000 and we got 2.4 million, but this doesn't show me how that 2 million is excess, especially with, you know, things that we have done since then, like the buses, we're expecting to pay for our portion of the best grant, if we get it, and things like that. A future meeting to look at once we have all those in place.
Yeah, when you get a chance, let me answer some of this.
yeah.
Okay, so these balances that you see have remained those same balances for a while, because the money we get in, which is roughly the 1.1 plus 40,000, 1,140,000 a month, pays our bills. So the money we're getting from the state essentially pays all of our bills, and we are on a 12-month payment plan right now. We will go possibly next year to a 9-month payment plan. When you go to 9 months, you are going to have some months off where you're not getting money from the state, and you would have to put back money and have some in savings to utilize for your payrolls in those 3 off months, which would probably be the summer months, if I had to guess, is where they're going to be off. And that's a system I've worked with before previously as well. And that's how they paid us in my previous state that I worked in. So it's nice to be paid on a 12-month basis. So right now, these balances that you see are just monies that sit there. They don't get touched monthly. You know, unless we have a very large purchase, then they would get touched. The BEST grant, not only did we apply for the BEST grant for the roof, but we also applied for an exemption because with the BEST grant people they calculate how much your portion is going to be. And they calculated that our portion would be 35%. So 35% of the 3.5 would roughly be 1.2 million that we would be on our portion. Well, I filled out a waiver for that and asked them that could we please only pay 18% of our total BEST grant. So both our BEST grant and our waiver will be considered, but we won't know about that until April. I think mid-April was when we did the presentations and then let's know if we got it or not. And also if they approve the waiver. So instead of 1.2, our percentage on the BEST grant will be about 650,000. Right now in capital, I think we're sitting on 1.1, and on an average, y'all been putting 500,000 a year, and we would put another 500 allocated towards capital for next year, and we still have plenty of money to pay for the BEST grant.
So is that 1.1 included in this funds available?
Sorry, I didn't hear that question.
Oh, I was asking, so he was saying you have 1.1 million in our capital account?
Yes.
So is that a part of the 6.5 million?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, the capital allocation is allocated actually on paper, but the money is sitting part of this 6.5.
So I guess that's kind of what I want to do, of the 6.5, what have we allocated already? And I guess what is that bottom dollar of funds that's not allocated?
Yeah.
That would help to make a more informed decision.
Of the 6.5, roughly 1.1 is designated to capital, but it doesn't have a purpose right now. If that makes sense. So there's 1.1 sitting in capital. And it's not like we said, oh, we need this to pay this. Now, we can, I think we were gonna take the buses out of the capital. So of that 1.1, what's buses 240?
And we are taking those out of account.
Right, 240. So really 240 of that. So 900 is just no particular use. But you want that buffer. There's no doubt. I mean, it serves purpose. I'm not talking against it. You know, like, let's say the boiler went out, you know, and that we need a new boiler. Well, it's like a rainy day fund, that capital fund is. A big air conditioning unit goes out and it would cost us $100,000 to replace it. We need to have that money in capital so we can go do that. So you always want a little buffer in there, but I think that buffer is too high right now.
But I guess what,
So it won't be too high if we get the best grant, though. We will need to put additional dollars in the capital for best grant allocation.
but I guess what I'm getting at is, for me, I'm all for, you know, rewarding our teachers for their hard work, because they work so hard throughout the year, you know, people take on extra duties, they sometimes even do extra things without getting paid, you know. So I'm all for rewarding our teachers, but I don't see just from this sheet that we have the money. And so I guess that's where I'm struggling on making a decision, is that I need to go down to be like, yes, all this money is accounted for in these different things, and the bottom line, we've accounted for, you know, 5 million that we have earmarked for things, and we have, you know, the 1.5 million available, whatever. That makes me feel better about making a decision on that. My other thing that I have with it is, you know, like you mentioned before, you said that, staff who hasn't been here, the bonus too. So, you know, teachers or staff that were just hired, you know, this month, last month, they're only gonna be here 3 months before the end of the school year. Who's to say they get this bonus and come back next year? So I would be more willing to reward those teachers that do come back and say, you know, you guys came back, this is awesome. Here's your bonus for coming back for the year. You know, we appreciate you, and you have a great year and work really hard.
Sarah, I'm gonna interrupt you, but that fan,
Again?
so I think that, see,
Yeah.
the fan is, I think Greg and I are kind of like, I think I'm getting most of what you're saying, but I don't mean to speak for you, but.
Well, you could have speak for me.
But-
Then I'll correct you.
But it does sound like we're talking about like more incentive wise.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure I'm
So
here.
the first part was that, teachers who have only been here a couple months will get this bonus, and if they come back next year, you know, they could get this bonus and say, all right, I'm gonna go find a job over at Lowe's or something. So I'd be more open to rewarding the teachers that do come back for next year. And it's like, hey, you guys come back for the new year, here's a bonus for that. Over the year.
Oh, like we were talking like the longevity or,
Yes.
I don't remember what we were calling, but I had talked, we kind
Well,
of,
that's it was, it's been, he brought this up to me, and it's another way, and that's what I told y'all in I wanted to stress when I finished whatever it was, my talk. Listen, I'm open to ideas, and one of the ones that Dee brought up was, okay, so what if they turn in their contract? And when they turn in their contract, come back for next year, then they would earn this bonus, you could give them the bonus at the end of the school year, and that would be great too. I'd certainly be up for that. And then I guess the last piece of that is, what if they took the bonus and then in the summer they quit, because theoretically you can quit with 30-day notice. But we have a last paycheck, so we could have them sign something that says, you know, if you take the bonus and then you quit during the summer, we'll withhold that bonus out of your last paycheck. Because they get paychecks through August. Previous year, employees, excuse me. So, yeah. There's a lot of ways to skin this cat, that's why we're talking about it. Was that?
I think
Skin this cat?
No, I know, it's okay, I was thinking, I don't know. I really like that idea, I mean, I do want to,
Say that.
I really like that idea, like she's saying, I want to itemize like this definitely, because I want to know, like, if we have the funds, because I'm all for teachers, that's my biggest thing, like, I'm definitely advocate for that, because, you know, they do so much, like, yeah, and I've done this stuff, so I'm like, yeah, so the whole point is that, I do want to incentivize, because I see that all their hard work, you know, sometimes just goes unseen. And especially the ones that have been here for so long, it just looks like we give it to the ones that just started, they're not appreciated.
Yeah, and what we're gonna try to do also is all we can next year to give more than just a step raise. That's where we really need to focus and concentrate. But I felt like it'd have been nice had we been able to pass along a bigger raise this past year. And maybe this is almost a way to like catch up a little bit from that. And that's the point that I take anyhow. But no, I definitely want to focus on giving the biggest raises possible. You know, the other thing I visited with Greg about, you know, I'll give y'all a for instance. While I was at my conference, I met with a group of people to look at our liability and property insurance. And I took some documents that Heather prepared for me and shared with them and went over them. But just, you know, just right off the bat, they think they can save us $100,000 in property and liability insurance. So we're now sending them more documentation to let them dig a little bit deeper. But for instance, like Jen's building, we're insuring a building that our documents showed hadn't changed since 1963, the year the building was built. And he said, Reese, surely y'all have done something to this building. And I was like, oh yeah, we've done a lot of things. There's 4 roofs sitting on it, for instance. And he's like, well, y'all sprinkled it at some point, put sprinkler systems in. I said, of course. He's like, you're paying as if that building doesn't have sprinklers. So there's those savings to be had. The other thing that Heather and I talked about today is our health insurance policy. We want to put together a teacher group and interview brokers to see if we can get a better health insurance. We met with the group a month ago, give or take. That came in and did a little presentation to Heather and I about health insurance and how they could save us money. We think we could save hundreds of thousands of dollars on health insurance. But we'll be doing these things the more we can save in areas like that, the bigger the raises we can get. So, I mean, I want to be the leader in this valley as far as having top pay for our teachers and our staff. And make it a place where people want to come teach and want to come work, not just teach, but work as well. So that's probably part of the mindset as well.
And here's another thing with incentivized ones too, with people that are coming, that are people that are in town that are wanting to become teachers. The ones that are like, okay, I want to be a teacher here, they're don't have the qualifications, but they're putting in that effort, let's say. And they're doing it, they're new, they start putting it in that, you know, they're working here, going to school, and they start picking up other things in the district. What about that incentivized?
Like working towards being a teacher?
Yeah, but also doing other things within inside of the, like, picking up like extra things that within like coaching.
We get that all the time,
flagging,
coaching.
you know, all that stuff, everything, yeah.
And we
So-
do, there's a lot of our teachers that pick up little extra duties here and there, coaching being the biggest one by far. So, you know, we definitely offer that. But then even the teachers that are not certified teachers yet, you know, we incentivize them to try to get their teaching certification so we can pay them as teachers and not as.
Is there a bonus that you
parents.
get once you get that?
You get a heck of a raise
Do we still have a
Step up.
program with BOCES for that?
for what?
I thought we had money allocated, or we had a BOCES program. When they're going through their licensure.
Not through BOCES,
The alternative licensure.
alternative licensure program. There's 2 or 3 different alternative license programs, and of course, T-Prep is one of them through Otero.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But the biggest raise they get is they come off of being a paraprofessional and move to a teacher pay scale. That's the big raise.
So. I've been around a lot of school districts and I've been around a lot of superintendents and whatnot, and I've heard the phrase that school districts, counties, municipalities aren't banks.
That's right.
And the money is there for a purpose. And I know I think I'm gonna swim way upstream with my fellow colleagues on this. And Director Hines, I really hear you, I like your idea about, like, if they sign up to come back. And $250,000 for right now. Not trying to diminish what that money is, but that's not a lot of money. And let's do both. My idea is let's do both. Let's pay them now, give them a bonus now, and if they sign up and they come back, we pay it again.
But how do you know if you have the money when you don't have it like that?
Because I believe and I trust what Heather's saying, and I trust superintendent.
Heather's saying that it makes me nervous and she doesn't.
I know it makes her nervous,
Especially the
but I'm
audits,
looking at the
yeah.
figures and. So if we did what I just proposed, that's $500,000.
And I'm all for spending the budget or for bonuses. I can see that she have that money.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but I just think. And I know I'm sounding like a damn liberal Democrat or something. $500,000 is not a lot of money.
But we don't know if we have it. That's my.
We have $6.5 million in the bank.
But I need to see what all this has been allocated, because I could have, say I have $10,000 in my account right now. But I've already said, oh, I'm gonna buy windows, I'm gonna replace my roof, I'm gonna do this. I have 10,000 though, I can keep spending, right? So that's where I'm coming from, is this doesn't give me enough support documents to understand where that money is coming from and where this money has been allocated. So just more documentation would be helpful for me to make that decision.
The only allocation that I'm aware of, and Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, is buses. That money we have said we will spend, and that's roughly 250,000.
And we did allocate those, and that was part of the budget of why we like to do the resolution.
Okay, so everybody's had conversation back and forth. Any final thoughts on your own before I have my questions? Okay. So, from what I'm hearing is that everyone we agree that these are good ideas and that our staff deserves the bonuses, and we do believe that they should get raises. What I'm also hearing is that, there is a need for more information on what the funds available are already allocated for. I hear that, so I'm gonna ask some questions, whoever wants to answer it. But I wanna know these things because Matt, there is a business, public,
Outdoors,
Yeah.
Max that,
yeah. That we should do this in public, so I'm just gonna recap things that I remember from previous meetings, and then I just want to make sure that I am tracking the information correctly. So number one, our audit is not complete yet. We hope that it will be, but we're not sure. So it's possible that, again, because it's not complete and we might have to do an extension, but we don't know for sure. There is a possibility that the county will hold on to our funds again. Correct. Okay, just going off of previous experience, I don't think it's a good idea to roll the dice with time. Right now, for that. Then my next question, which is gonna follow along with like what Sarah and Stacy are saying, is like, it is to me the same thing of like, okay, fine. We are showing 6 million here, but I also see that part of it is the Colorado Trust Bond, which I think that's the one you said before when you did explanations, we can't touch that because that goes to our payment, right?
Right, the blue ones that are highlighted are ones the funds we can't touch.
Because they're allocated to something else.
Yes.
So the Colorado Trust Bond is the one that pays for prior. And then we have our property tax fund. CB&T bond, that one.
So then the one that we have with Colorado, the CDs. Is the 3.2 million, and that's the CDs that we have.
So that's not cash in the bank, that's a certificate, I mean, like, that's supposed to build our interest.
Yes.
Okay, so are we talking about cashing them out to give?
No,
bonuses or
absolutely
no?
not,
Okay.
but it was part of our fund balance. And we could, if we needed them, we could cash them out when they matured if we needed them, but that wasn't.
Okay, then the next big question I have, so when we have these monies. Like it. So just understanding that we have title funds, and I know that some of it is use it or lose it, I wanna know. So we have $1.1 million, I'm going off your sheet, $1.1 million for a monthly average of income, and then 40,000 from local county taxes. Of that total, what percentage of that pays for operations, the salaries, keep the fringe, keep the lights on, whatever it is?
Probably close to $1 million, a little over.
Okay,
Give it average, yes, that's more. But we can have, the salaries can fluctuate.
Mhm.
They can be higher than that. They can be lower than that. Along with bills too. We can pay more. But we can do less.
so then,
It's not, I can't have an accurate to the penny, but it's an
so
accurate.
there's not. I don't know, I'm like, but then, just from like, because I do a lot of reading on my own. Can you explain what categorical funds are? Because there are some things that we have to pay for that are, like you're trying to say, like you wanna see where it's laid out. And I know you gave us the full budget, but like, again, they're new and then people at home are watching and there are people that just don't fully understand. So how much of it goes to gifted and talented? How much of it is special ed? How much of it is
I see what you're saying,
okay,
to break it down. Off the top of my head, I don't know all of those.
and I didn't.
But it's all budgeted, Dee, it's all budgeted. I mean, we know.
So then that
exactly.
means that it is already allocated, correct?
Well, it's just part of our, our monthly expenses that we average about $1 million a year. So, but our money coming in always offsets the money going out so we haven't touched these balances.
Well, here's, sorry, here's another concern, or at least a question that I've been thinking is. So. Some of these meetings run together. So there was one meeting we discussed, whether our CAO would get paid out of the easy grant, and we can't. And that's because part of his, salary already comes from title funds. And you cannot, I don't know if you guys were already on the board or not during that time, but you can supplement, but you can't supplant. So if you couldn't afford the position to begin with, then title funds isn't gonna continue. It's just for, I think, like to get you started, like, so let's say we already could afford a stay. But then title funds is supposed to be like your meat and potatoes and the extra to supplement that. Is that a fair?
Yes, because the position was new, title would let us pay this year and next.
Okay, so then
Percentage of it.
okay, but then next year, when we start doing the budget, the next year, will title still pay for part of that, but then we still have to come up with the other part of that salary too?
Yes,
Okay,
because you can't
so
have.
that, but that's your new position, okay. Okay, and then And I'm sorry, I talk fast and I'm just trying to make sure that I'm trying to make sure I'm being sensible for other people's time, but we also have, again, the easy grant that we talked about that was being applied for to pay for, yeah, TNTP and then the board training. Well, yeah, we already have the board training and then strategic plan.
Cohort 8, easy cohort 8.
Okay. So we have at the State Board of Education that they said that they approved the plan and said that we can go with TNTP as our partial manager for the intermediate school, but that's about how much money will that cost? Because we pay for that, or is that title, or is that part of that grant, or is it?
So we have received and allocated $100,000 on easy grant money. And when I asked Sam this, and we didn't get the other 100,000 that we wanted, he said, yes, we can move some of the others dollars that you received to help pay for TMTP. Will we probably have to pay for some of TMTP next year? We will. Will we go back and reapply for easy and not make the mistake we made this year? Absolutely. And will we be awarded all of that money? I feel like we will. So, but back to your point about personnel and the CAO position, just as we add personnel, there's times when we take away personnel. You know, there's many times that that positions go unfilled, and those are savings too. So we had to pay we're paying roughly half of the CAO position. You know, which is again a very small amount and has probably already been overcome by other positions that we didn't fill when people left. People come and go all the time. And as we build next year's budget, we're going to try to be, as I've told y'all in emails before, even more lean, you know, than we currently are. Now, there's some things that, you know, we have so many teachers, you know, per student, we try to keep a certain ratio, administrators per a certain amount of students ratio. Paraprofessionals is one that I've told all of our principals that we need to work on. We have a tremendous amount of paraprofessionals, but we have that because we have a tremendous amount of special needs students. As y'all heard at the state board here, 20% is extremely high. 10% is more in line. Most districts run about 10%. So this is something else that we're working with BOCES on. But it's not as if that we're just sitting around trying to add more money coming out of the budget. I'm also sitting around trying to take money, you know, not spending. So these things come out in the wash, as we sometimes say. They work out in the wash as far as personnel goes. Not only will, now that Mr. Wilson's been added to title, it's not just this year, next year. We can forever add him to title because we're not supplanting. So once he's on title, we can continue to ask for those dollars and allocate those dollars towards that salary. 50% is the percentage that we're getting towards that salary. Entire.
What title is? We did this once before, but I don't think it was definitely a new one. So like Title I, can you, off the top of your head, can you tell us what each titles are for?
Title I's salaries, benefits. Title II is mainly PD. Title IV is the well-rounded, so it's probably training, supplies, trying to think of what else I have. Title V is the safety and health executives, and it's training, supplies, maybe PD on that too.
And only some of those are considered, I think you said that too, right? With the title funds, some of them are use it or lose it, like not.
Well, we almost lost $500,000 because we didn't spend it, but we've got to spend it this year. Or I think we are going to lose some of that. Yeah, the thing, it's not just title grants, all grants. Spend them. Or you may have to send that money back. So we do all we can to spend our title dollars before we spend our local dollars. As far as supplementing these costs go and not supplanting.
For the best grant, for the one that, the application you're working on now, last time we had to have a match. Do we have to have a match for this one?
Yeah, that's what I just talked about a minute ago.
Right, but what was the percentage of the match?
Well, the state told us 35, I asked for a waiver to make 18%.
Okay,
And that 18% will be 655,000, something like that. I saw the exact figure. I have the exact figure. But it's not 1.3. So, and last year, I mean, this is the third year in a row that I've done best grants, getting good at this thing. But the waivers are always approved. I mean, because they vote on your waiver and your best grant to move your best grant forward at the exact same time. And they're always voted yes, typically. Now, they're voted yes, and now do you make the cut? That's the hard part of the best grant is making the cut. So we're either gonna get the waiver and the best grant, or we're not gonna get the waiver and the best grant. One of them.
Do you mind if I interrupt? With the 4 layers of roof on that thing and it being a cement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how we were talking about it's a DAC meeting where we don't know what it looks like underneath there and we have contingency, but we don't know if that contingency can cover that. So that's where
Well,
it gets a little tricky with this whole thing.
Yeah.
With,
It's a concrete deck. I mean, it should be in just fine shape, should be, but you pull off 4 layers and then you see. But yes, not only is there a contingency that we build into all projects, then we build an escalation for both the construction company, and then we have an escalation as well. A big part of that grant is those 3 items. The roof itself is not really 3.5. But when you start building in all these other soft costs is what they call those, including the cost to pay for your consultant, all of that's built in. Architectural, all of that's built in.
well. To just sum up my perspective then, I don't think it's wise to grant this, not that they don't deserve more. But we would be, I feel, fiscally irresponsible to make a commitment to something when we, one, don't have our audit back yet. We don't know if this is an actual windfall or if this is or if, what's his name, Dimitri, is gonna come back after the audit and be like, oh, actually, you need to pay, whatever. I would be more comfortable knowing what the results are from the audit. I also think that, you know, since we're not sure and if the county holds our funds and then, although, you know, we will get them eventually, that still creates a cash flow issue. Like, you know, the money's there, but I can't get it to you, look for it. You know, I don't want to cause that kind of situation. But then also, you know, within the change of administration, there was, at one time when we had the change of administration, we lost $70,000 in grant and title funds. I don't know, like Stacy or Sarah, it's uncertain. And I do agree, we're going to the legislative conference and I'd like to hear what the report is and get a better understanding, because we don't know yet what is going to happen with the governor's budget and the averaging, because that will hurt us. And I think that I don't disagree that these are great ideas that for me to want to implement. But if we are too soon, I think that we're going to end up putting ourselves in hot water and then wishing that we hadn't. And I just think that it'd be more responsible to wait till we have concrete I don't wanna kind of spend the paycheck before we have it kind of thing, and then be overdrawn. No, I'm not, I don't want us to be in that kind of, I think that's relatable to some people. And I just wanna make sure that we aren't doing that, because this isn't our money, this is the community's money. And I just wanna be fiscally responsible, so that's where I sit on that. I will let everybody have one more turn of giving the final thoughts before we move on to the next item.
I agree, it's not our money. And the school district is not a bank. And we got the money. Either reward our people, and I'm just telling you right now, I'm gonna be very blunt and candid. I think Director Hines had a great idea. I'm doubling down. We pay them now and we pay them if we sign to come back. We got the money.
This is the last thing I'd say is a lot of the things that y'all said, you can say every year. And we can sit around and second guess these things. Y'all been sitting on this money for a long, long time. It's not going anywhere, it's going nowhere but up. What about next year? Now we're sitting on 7.5. What about the year after that? 8.5. At what point do we start paying the salary that we should? Start paying the bonuses that we should. So, and as far as the legislature, they meet every year. This is my 4th legislative session, and I've heard the same thing for 4 years. And this is Gregory, this is his wheelhouse, this is where he works. Oh, we're broke, oh, we don't have the money. Everybody's gonna have to cut. And then mysteriously, come May, everything's fine. So I think there's a little bit, I think the legislature goes through a little bit of, I don't know, cat and mouse games, I guess would be an easy way to put it. But we'll see, but we could say these things every single year. So at some point, I don't mind, I think the most, notable exception here is the audit. You know, I think that we could sit and see what is said come, March in the audit. But yeah, that's what I'll work.
This is taxpayers' money, but I also understand the teacher aspect of it because my daughter was recently a teacher. And I understand the mess that this school district just went through with all of this, with the taxes and everything. And this is the first time I've used this auditor. And I don't want this happening again, what you guys went through with your taxes and stuff. And I don't want this being a mistake that we make and that we write a check that we can't cash. You know what I mean? That we made a mistake, and I just want a little more time, and that's why I prefer to just wait. And you guys deserve a bonus. You guys deserve it, and I know that is something I want to give you guys. It's just we need more information because I got the right information so I can make that call. That's like, okay, yeah, I got the information. It's there. We can do it. But at this time, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Project. Sounds ready.
Yeah, I definitely believe that our teachers are supported. They work hard, they put up with a lot of stuff in the schools, and they're the boots on the ground for this district, for our students. I would like to wait until the audit is complete, and then as students said too, just more clarifying information, so I can make more informed decisions on that.
So everything that I've already said, but then also that I would like to wait till meet and confer, because that is when the staff is allowed to address the board with their concerns and budget input. And I think that we're missing that piece, and we should at least hear from them as they give those reports. Yes. Okay.
Madam President, can I ask one question? I guess I'm not sure who, Heather, when will the audit be completed?
I do not have an exact date. We're hoping moving forward, it would be in March, but we do not have an exact date.
So would And not. Would you anticipate by the April board meeting?
Hoping.
I mean, I hear you, I'm like, I don't wanna say March, but I'm giving you some wiggle room. April,
I can tell
for
you
sure.
that last year, we had deadlines and I would hope and say, it'll be the next month and it just didn't turn out that
No,
way, but
I
I'm
understand.
hoping that this one is sooner.
All right.
And I don't want to necessarily say April and then it rolls around and it doesn't happen.
I didn't mean, I'm not trying to pin you down to the exact date.
Yeah,
I'm
but I
just-
would like to.
Based on the conversation and the dialogue, I'm just trying to think how we
Yeah.
might proceed.
Well, we have a
This
much,
time.
we have a much better auditor now than what we.
And I'm hoping March, I'm keeping my fingers crossed and I'm
Understand.
being positive that we
Thank
can have it in March, but I can't promise that, I can't do.
thank you.
And but I will, if, once I hear from Dimitri and he keeps me up to date on timelines, I will definitely pass it along.
Moving on to item 7, unfinished business. We have 2 policies. And just to remind the audience, this is the one that we edited, we changed it to be second reading for item 8.
Yeah, item 8, I'd like to move to table policy, CBA / CBC for CASB to consult for services.
Second. We have a motion and a second to table policy CBA / CBC to consult with CASB services.
For services.
Discussion.
Yeah, I would just like to apologize for last time when we were discussing this. I was so confused. And you know how passionate I am about policy and learning all this stuff, it was so confusing. And I just wanted to apologize, okay? And then, I have more information about that and they do provide services so we can do this and learn about it, especially with me and her being new, and then, do it maybe with even the new board members, so I think that would be a great opportunity to just table it and figure out what to do the bigger time.
Speaking of the services, we did have an audit. It was a very high level audit just to see if we were in compliance or if there's where they just look at like what's out of date or if there's something that's not compliant with our statutes. And we did get that in
I'm checking. It's been a minute.
22, I want to say, or 21. But it has been, a minute, and I do think that. When did you say we're doing the TNTP first visit? Or we're supposed to do strategic planning with them. So it all goes together. So our strategic planning should also include our budget, our financing. There's even a tool if you go to the website, the Colorado School Finance Project, which is where Dr. Blinko gave us that information from last time. That showed like our enrollment from 93, they have great information there, but there's like a strategic planning tool there. And a lot of things tied to budget as well, and it would be best to set up this new board that they do it together. I think it would build board and superintendent relationships like you were bringing up before with like how with our new attorneys. That's something that is created together. Because it does need to be done. That was where we were trying to go with it, but then we had COVID and then it was just always in reactive instead of trying to be proactive. And I would like to be able to hand that off to, there's 2 of us that are termed out and then another one that will run. So there's 3 vacancies in November if anybody's interested. But I do think that it should be that starting there at least, so.
I haven't decided if I'm running.
Well, but still, I do think that it all goes hand in hand and it should be built together. Especially because this is like, it's just really a good time to do that. So that we can go in a different or stronger direction.
That policy audit was July of
22. So, and we're gonna be seeing Casby when we go up there 26.
26, yes.
So we can bring that up too, and then have the bring that back to the board to report when we talk about like what we did out there.
Yeah.
So I agree with Stacey. Anyone else?
I would say this. That. I think there's a lot of important policies. Obviously, in our policy manual. But as far as I'm concerned, this is probably one of the most important policies in our policy manual. Because there's only one policy that's referenced in my evaluation, not evaluation, in my contract. It's this. And what it says roughly is that the superintendent will perform all duties as outlined in policy CBA CBC. So of all the policies that you want to take your time on and get right, this is it. This, as far as I'm concerned, this is a big E. We're about to roll through some policies here in a minute. We're gonna probably roll through them really fast, and there's a reason for that, and they're kind of mundane, titled, nothing we can do about them kind of policies. So it feels weird to say, hey, there's really important policies, and then there's some that aren't as important, but that's the truth, you know, so anyhow. As far as CASB policies go, I told some of y'all, the last 2 years I was in Dolores, we went through, total revamp of our policies. And you can pay CASB to do this, and it's more than just a policy audit. You go through every single policy, you start at A and you go to J. And over 2 years of special meetings, I think we had made it about 3/4 of the way through. It's a lot. It's very taxing, but I learned a lot. This is what I learned. The most important thing I can tell you all tonight is that, and I was sharing this with Jill today. Everything matters. Punctuation matters. Formatting matters. You know, a lot of the things we did, they were taking out the ands and putting in the buts, or taking out the shalls and putting in the wills. But a ton of it was formatting. And when we finished a policy, and we had worked on a policy, you send it back to CASB. That's kind of what you're alluding to, Stacy. And you say, okay, we made these changes to this policy. Is this okay? And sometimes they say no. And then sometimes they say, yes, that's just fine. But part of this, if you want to go through CBA and CBC correctly, we'll make the changes that we want to make, and then we'll send it back. And why do they sometimes say no? Because some of this is state law. And it's not highlighted anywhere of what is law and what's not. So sometimes they'll write you back and they will say, you can't change that. So it is important that I like your idea, Stacy, of getting CASB involved. And I would probably have done that anyhow, where we would have made the changes or we will someday make the changes to this policy. But we need to send it back to them and say, okay, does this look okay?
And I like the policy. I really liked it. I really did. It's just, I was so confused on it. Like, I was like, wait a minute, where'd it come from? Like, how did we get here? And I was just like, yeah, and I really wanted to get to that point. And you have so much experience leading with you. And I'm like, you know what I mean?
Well, and I can actually confuse you more. There's actually 4 versions of this that we're gonna look at tonight. 4.
We're good.
Yeah.
Well, it's already almost, 8:30.
Yeah, so,
Good.
yeah, it's complex, there's no doubt.
Mrs. Ayala.
Oh, just.
Table.
Table it.
Table it. Yeah,
Mrs. Ayala.
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Colomans.
no,
Mrs. Laban.
I Item B.
Item B, this is our second final reading, Madam President, of LED. LED deals with, how we deal with district charter schools. Again, pretty basic, policy. My recommendation to the board is that we approve, or are we just talking right now? No, this is unfinished business. Our recommendation to the board, I'm sorry. Is that we, approve, LED on the second final reading.
Make a motion to approve policy LVB on second and final reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve revised policy LBC on second final reading. Any questions, comments, or additions? Hearing none, roll call.
Mrs. Ezaiella.
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Colomans.
Aye.
Mrs. Leba.
Aye. New business.
Madam President, we have a number of policies in front of us, as I referenced just a minute ago, to approve. I will go ahead and read through them. This is first reading for these policies. AC, GBAA, JBB, GCE, GC/GCF, GDE/GDF, JB, JF, GBA, JICDD, JICDE, JFBA, JFBB, JICA, JLL. You know, I can put my glasses on and this would go better. I'm sorry. JII, GBEE, and JS. This is the first reading. And all of these policies are because recent Title IX overturn of the 2024 Title IX federal law, and we are now back to the 2020 version of Title IX federal laws. And so all of these
Excluding GBEE and JS, they're dealing with artificial intelligent parameters.
Right. Say those two again, Jill, I'm sorry.
The last.
The last two.
Yeah,
Okay.
GBEE and JS.
Yeah. So. So yes, and this, again, this is the first reading. It'd be my recommendation to pass these policies as outlined.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the aforementioned policies. But I do want to go through them real quick. It's for discrimination, equal employment, sexual harassment, professional staff recruiting, hiring, support staff recruiting and hiring, equal education opportunities, admission and denial of admission, open hiring, equal employment opportunity, violent and aggressive behavior, bullying prevention and behavior, intra-district choice, open enrollment, inter-district choice, enrollment, student dress code, student concerns, complaints, and grievances. And then the last two, of course, is the staff use of technology and student use of technology to include artificial intelligence.
I just like for the record to reflect, the superintendent and I had a conversation pertaining to, I'm not sure which policy was, the dress code. That's something I would like to talk about at some point in the future, as well as the technologies, staff and student technology. Madam President, I can't see, but anyways, those last two items, because that's something I think we're gonna talk about in the near future, technology and limiting access, faculty and staff.
And Madam President, before the second reading, thank you, Mr. Coleman, about this. I need to bring more information on this last two about the AI. I think all the rest we understand, but.
I don't have a problem with any of it. I just wanted to make everybody aware, kind of like those points of thought.
We probably need just a little bit more information on those last two, JBE. And that's kind of a hot topic, the AI stuff. So before the second reading next month, let me bring back just a little bit more information. I think it's fine. And I think it's fine to pass them tonight on first reading.
It's a draft.
And then I'll see if I can get some more information back to you for a second. Jill, if you'll note that, please.
I will.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ayala.
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
Aye.
Mrs. Laba.
Aye. Item B.
Item B, Madam President, is approved revised regulations ACR1 and ACR3. This is the first revised final reading of those two policies. These policies were revised again due to Title IX regulations. And you have a little bit more if you'd like to cover some of those exact readings about. My recommendation, Ken, come on.
Nerdy, man.
My recommendation is that we pass these two policies. Madam President.
Make motion to approve policy AC-R-1 and policy AC-R-3.
Second?
Approve, okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve revised regulations AC-R1 and AC-R3. And I have in the agenda on first,
They're regulations,
So
so
we
they
don't
only
have to-
require one reading. So
Okay,
a
so this is
regulation is the first
first
revised
and
final reading.
got you. So it's the combo. And again, for the audience, AC-R-1 is non-discrimination, equal employment. Again, we've used revised for Title IX regulations, and then policy AC-R-3 is sexual harassment investigation procedures revised due to Title IX regulations.
And regulations give more specifics to the policy. So.
Discussion. Hearing none. Roll call.
Mrs. Ayala.
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
Aye.
Mrs. Laba.
Aye. Item C.
Madam President, item C is the staff retention bonuses. I want to thank all the board members tonight for a very healthy discussion. And because of our healthy discussion this afternoon, earlier, I would like to make a recommendation that we table this particular item until a later date.
Make a motion to table the staff retention bonus to a later date.
Second that?
We have a motion and a second to table the staff retention bonus. Discussion.
I disagree, and I'll be a no vote. I think we've got the money, or there was some disagreement whether we have the money or we don't have the money. In the scheme of things, we're not talking about a lot of money, and I think we need to pay our people.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Appreciate it.
I don't disagree that we need to pay our people, but I also think that we need to make sure that we can and that it's sustainable. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ayala.
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
No,
Mrs. Laba.
Aye.
Madam President, item D was the superintendent evaluation results. You and I discussed, and I appreciate the discussion with the board, that we put this to a later time so that we can have time to have all of our board members here to go over the results of the evaluation. So I don't know if we would just skip it or table it. I don't know what the proper thing would be. I just think we need to postpone until a later date. And so my recommendation is postpone this until a later date. One last thing I'd like to say about this. I think it'd be, if we could, before spring break, which is roughly the 17th, if we might want to call a special meeting in that time, if we want to spend some time on this evaluation. So I don't know, I
So
won't,
what I'm hearing is then we could entertain a motion to table this item until we can do it through the poll
sure,
for a special meeting before.
I would prefer before spring break. I think that would be fruitful.
So moved.
No.
Yeah.
I cannot make a motion. I was clear. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Hines is ready to go. So it's like, I'm done.
Let me roll out a recommendation. I think a recommendation is that We table until a doodle poll, is that Robert?
Table until a later date with a doodle poll being sent out.
There you go.
Ms. Hines? There you go.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to table item D, the superintendent evaluation results, until we can send out a doodle poll, which is to ask the board to check our availability, so we can schedule a special meeting for us to go over these results before spring break.
Perfect.
I just would like to acknowledge the superintendent's willingness to maneuver around that language in the contract. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh. And then I just want to also add that by postponing this, because there is in the contract, there is a deadline of March 1st. And then it does do an automatic rollover if nothing's done by April 1st. However, I don't know if you recall, Dr. Blinko has a 3-year contract with us, so this does not affect that. So that's why he's allowing, we have time. And like I said again, it's new people, new superintendent, new tool. We should take the time to do this the right way and make sure that we are being strategic with that. Okay.
Mrs. Ayala.
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
Aye.
Mrs. Leba.
Aye. Board comments.
Oh, Thank you guys for staying in here so.
Oh, I got, you know me, man, I'm just like Johnny talked about. So I do have a couple quick comments. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to Mrs. Apodaca and her team, Dr. Blinko, and everybody for a phenomenal job at the State Board of Education. I mean, it was, I mean, I don't really know what I didn't really know what I was going up there for, and I was just so proud to be a member of this district and be part of the school board. So
Thank
you
Thank you.
and your entire team. So huge shout out. Also, see Mrs. Fox open in the audience. We have a Betcher finalist in our school district.
That's big.
That's BFD.
Yeah, that is.
And that didn't happen. Honestly, it happened on her part, but without the counselors and the support from the high school, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That's a huge shout out. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you.
I want to give a shout out to the admin team that went up to the state board hearing. I apologize I couldn't be there, but I did watch while you guys were doing it, and you guys did really, really good. And the reactions from the state board members was awesome. They were very, they really took in what you guys said. So that was nice. I also attended the science fair, and it was well attended. There was a lot of projects there. And it was cool to see all the efforts and time that got put into the projects. So kudos to all the students who did it.
For sure. That was fun tonight. That was a good deal.
I agree with everything that they've said, but also I did not realize that the intermediate school had their students watch the proceedings, the public hearing. And I did get feedback from the students that, I mean, they didn't get everything, but they wanted to make sure that they, that our principals did a good job, and it was very interesting to learn. And that they're very excited because we have to get out of the red or orange, or I don't remember what they said. So, I just want to commend you all for doing a great job, and that we do have, our littles are watching us. We are setting examples, so I appreciate all of the hard work that you do, and I hope that, I don't want to get emotional, so I'm just gonna say, great job, everybody.
Yeah. So, and I agree, and I'm sorry, it seems like sometimes I talk too much, but to your point, Madam President, maybe Dr. Blanco, somebody, is there a way, I've had some community people ask, because I bragged about it, I'm like, it was so awesome. Is there a way, any way we can get that online or post that somehow?
I don't
I
know.
actually have it recorded. You do need it. See, I have a hard copy. I've got a digital copy of it.
All right, well, I'm gonna see, you're the man.
Yeah, it's on the YouTube channel, it's still a
It's
public.
still there. I
Yeah.
have it digitally.
Well, because I bragged about it and people have said, can I see it? Can I watch it?
Dakota, let's see if we can find that.
It should be a YouTube URL. They do that, but I
So,
go back to hard
I
copy.
appreciate that, Steve. So, because it was phenomenal, it was great.
Okay.
And I bragged about
That would be.
And I'd like to say something too, with the deck, I'm not the representative of the board, just want to say that, that is mine and Zeke's little like,
They're there now.
yeah, it's our new date time as parents. But I do want to say, I went to the state hearing and, I am very proud of the team that we have, Claudia and Reese and everybody. It was very emotional, so I don't want to talk a lot about it. It was freezing, you guys. Just traveling up there, it was, that was treacherous in itself. We almost thought it was gonna even canceled at one point too, so that was scary too. We do have a pie meeting tomorrow, right? So the community, parents, it's everybody. Pie is,
School accountability.
it's our school accountability, but it has a people.
Partners in education.
And education, yeah, I always get it specific. I also recently went to one at the high school, that was great, you learn a lot of information there. Also, our accountability for the district, you learn a lot. That is, you learn so much there, I learned more there than I learned anyplace else. So, yeah,
Always get involved.
it's get involved, that's a great place to start if you wanna run for board. Sure, yes, yeah, it is, it really is.
What's going on as well too.
Yeah. So when he said he wanted a tour too, it's because he does a lot of that stuff with Jack, so it's not like he's just a random person being like, hey, I wanna go. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so just letting you yeah, and thank you everybody that came today too with wrestling and the science fair too, that I love the science fair, I'm so excited, and I love that, and all the involvement, so yeah. And I'm tired, so.
You know what's so cool about the science fair, only have just one little thing, is that it's competition and the kids are getting excited. But we don't need to lose sight that we're actually learning and teaching science along the way. And sometimes I think that they don't even realize what they're learning, but they're having such a good time. And so it's so neat.
That's the best part of learning, you don't realize you're.
Isn't it though? It really is.
Yeah, a lot of tears in our house when we do it, but I just want to shout out to Mrs. Renee, we weren't really involved for a lot of years. And she came along and, I mean, it's hosted in La Junta and our kids weren't involved. And she sparked it up and look at all those awards.
I know, it's
Thank
amazing.
you so much for all that you do.
Yeah, look at all this.
Thank you. I encourage you all to take a look if you haven't before you leave. Cause, I'm sorry, Jeff, but it's really, the M&M one, that one was crazy. But I don't want to extend our time. So without any further business, we are adjourned.